The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Welcome to another episode of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author, and we got a couple fun ways for you to support Florida craft beer. But in the meantime, before we get started, I want you to hit like and subscribe to that podcast link on the podcasting app of your choice. And if your podcasting app can also let you leave reviews, give us a nice 5 stars if you could. It really helps us get the word out about everything that we have going on here at the Florida Beer Podcast. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter, at FL Beer Blog on Facebook. You can find us on the web at FloridaBeerBlog.com, FloridaBeerPodcast.com, and we are also a proud member of the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. They've got a lot of great shows coming up, and I cannot wait to share the news with you. In the meantime, we are about to speak to Frances Antonio-Martineau, who is the founder of the FemAle Brew Fest, an all-female event celebrating the women of Florida craft beer. It's going to be heading back to Fort Lauderdale again this year after a slight delay in operations due to our friend COVID. But before that happens, we are going to be speaking with Shane Kiffin Ayres. He is the head brewer and co-founder at High Springs Brewing Company, and he is also the person behind a fantastic new card game that somewhat closely replicates the process of brewing, just using cards. That game is called Brewery, and we're going to be speaking to him about how he created it and where you can find it. Enjoy. You just celebrated 2 years at High Springs Brewing. How did all of that go?
It went really well. We had a nice turnout all day long and had our second year anniversary beer release, and that was received well. It was Imperial smoked beer, and people seemed to be enjoying it, and we were able to bring back our first anniversary beer for this limited time till it's gone, and so that was nice. Everybody's been very supportive in the community. I think it's exciting and hard to believe for all of us. More open now than we were for our first anniversary, due to the happenings of 2020. And it was nice to be able to kind of really do a few more things. Had a tie-dye event with the brewery shirts, and that was received well. Something, different events like that people wanted to have, and so it was nice to be able to do that. So that was exciting, and
that's kind of you're off to bigger and better things and doing more brewing. But you're not just brewing; you've also got a card game that you have developed called Brewery. Can you kind of give us a little taste of what that's about?
Sure. We had gotten into a few card games as a family, and so we were a game called Ramen Fury, and the goal was just to kind of simply create a bowl of ramen, with different ingredients and simple mechanics, and then the first person to kind of complete that objective wins, and then there's different rules and kind of things, and so that was. Playing something like that, I was like, let's do something with beer, since that pretty much consumes most of our brain, and thought that would be a fun and creative and cathartic task, trying to process just day-to-day stress and miscellaneous things, it's nice to have an outlet. And so that kind of became some catharsis for me, and pretty much took the mechanics of the other game and made the initial prototype for Brewery based on that over a course of a weekend, and then began to enhance it and beyond kind of that initial mechanic. And so that's where it started. And then as far as choosing the recipes, just decided to kind of keep it focused on kind of the US or UK or Germany, since that pretty much most of the beers we produce here and at High Springs are kind of in that genre. And so it was more familiar and kind of relevant. And so I started there. And then as far as the recipes go, I just based it on, I created a formula for myself so that I could kind of quickly look at it and say, all right, if it's landing here and here, then these are it's going to have, these bittering or these aromatic or, base malt or specialty. I tried to keep it somewhat simple categorically. There are other card games out there that are beer building related that are a little more complex. This one's more just kind of somewhat simple for fun and trying to keep the ingredients focused.
Yeah, and that's very interesting in terms of how you sort of built the game. And for those of you that haven't played it, basically you're given 3 to 5 styles, and you said that those styles are generally very clean for the most part, very standard. And then you have to build through creating and pulling cards the malts and adjuncts and yeast that you need to create the recipe. In terms of, obviously you do have a brewing background, clearly, and how much did you want to throw in to where other brewers would be happy and satisfied playing the game because it's as close as a card game can get to the actual brewing process? And then how much of it did you have to sort of hold back on for it to still be an enjoyable card game for people that may not even know how beer is made or drink beer?
Some of it I think was, thinking about, the time frame that I wanted to kind of the goal that I set for myself to get it completed. I decided that, you could get pretty complex, and then it would get, the more complex you get, the more esoteric it becomes. And so it's less enjoyable for people that don't have a brewing background. And so trying to find something that was in somewhere maybe in the middle so that people could enjoy it. You don't have to know which base malt or which specialty malt. It's just, you just need to find a card that matches, either the origin or kind of a mix of the origin, or, whether it's a hybrid, kind of a dual purpose, hop or malt, and then apply it to the card, so that you could then ferment it, because there's a wild card, there's a couple of wild cards, and there's a couple of diaspora cards, which are kind of the get in the way cards. And so figured some of that is a little more relevant to those with a brewing background. I mean, they're going to understand diacetyl before somebody who doesn't have a brewing background. But the directions are on the cards. Just create something that challenged me. It was a good kind of a good release, and kind of organized my brain in a particular manner, putting some pieces of it together. And as things continue to go, that I plan to have kind of expansion packs that we'll kind of build, and with like Belgian beers or other kinds of relevant beverages that can utilize the same card stack, or would be kind of an expansion pack that you could build it build the deck so that you can play it, and adding in, new things. So
that's kind of amazing. And how has the reception been to the game? I'm assuming that this was play tested quite a bit at the brewery.
Well, we've played it a bit, and there are quite a few people that have enjoyed it. We had about 10 copies up here at the brewery that have all sold. So we're trying to get it out there, and we'll come up sometimes. My wife enjoys playing it, so we'll come up and play it. And we've played it with a few other people. Played it with Hal Patter, and trying to grow who we've played it with, and always open to. Currently, it's print on demand. It can be modified and edited to be corrected, and so that's a nice phase for it.
And with the print on demand, I guess if people are interested in taking a look at it and getting a deck, where can they go?
It's at, I believe it's gamecrafter.com. I'll have to send you the link directly. Also, beadpond.com is the media company that we own that published it, and it'll be on that. Links will be on there as well.
And we'll make sure to put that in the show notes. Last question for you, since I know the last time that I played the game, I was able to create a classic British barley wine with fruit adjuncts and lactose. Has anybody who played the game come up with some sort of Frankensteinian combination and then asked you to actually make it at the brewery?
Well, not yet, but that definitely is that would be a fun challenge to put out there. That's pretty cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Like I said, I have played Brewery. It is a lot of fun, and it is amazing how detailed it is. Not only do you have a lot of great realistic recipes, but every single recipe is accompanied by an image of the correct glassware you need to serve that beer, which is one of the amazing little touches that he threw in there. If you want to purchase the game, I definitely recommend that you do so. It's available at thegamecrafter.com, and we'll put the link in the show notes. But from there, we are going to be heading back to Fort Lauderdale. We're going to welcome Frances Antonio-Martineau to the podcast. If you remember, about a year and a half ago, we spoke about the FemAle Brew Fest, a beer festival that only invites breweries that are owned, operated, or employing women here in the Florida craft beer industry. That event was unfortunately sidelined due to COVID, but it's back, and we're going to be chatting with her about the new location, the breweries that are coming, and everything else that you need to celebrate this amazing beer festival.
In terms of the what is the FemAle Brew Fest, and why did you try to make it something different than every other beer festival that seems to be out there?
Well, so the FemAle Brew Fest is a craft beer festival highlighting and supporting women in the brewing industry. So in 2016, I started a women's empowerment group, and I've always been into craft beer, and I just kind of wanted to combine two of my passions, and I came up with the FemAle Brew Fest. Going to different breweries, craft festivals, craft beer festivals, and stuff like that. You didn't see a lot of women at these things, so I just wanted to find a way to kind of highlight and support the women kind of making all of these delicious beers.
And yeah, absolutely. And pre-COVID, for the first couple of years, it started to gain a lot of traction in the craft beer community down here, didn't it?
Right. We've gotten some really amazing recognition, national recognition, actually. In 2020, I had a feature in the Oprah magazine because of some of the work that I've been doing, in the brewing, with the festival and just kind of the different things that I'm doing within the brewing industry.
And unfortunately, 2020 is not exactly the best year for anything. Right. I know that you had the dates, you had the event location, you had the breweries, and then COVID. So
right. We were shut down basically the week before the fest was supposed to happen. So very devastating time.
Unfortunately, yeah. But I guess my question is, because now that it is coming back, it's going to be later this month. Why decide to go now? Why not try to hold off maybe another year or two? Why was now the right time to bring the FemAle Brew Fest back?
Well, so, COVID seems to be going down, had a downtrend before. So I wanted to try to just kind of bring it back. I am limiting attendance this year. So I'm still trying to I'm still aware that COVID's around. So it is going to be outside. There's no really indoor activities. Everything's outside. And we just found out that there's going to be a rooftop available as well. So, everybody's going to be able to just kind of enjoy the outdoor open air event, which we're excited about.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, because also it's right on Fort Lauderdale Beach, correct?
Right. So this year we're hosting it at the brand new Kimpton Goodland Hotel. It's a boutique hotel. They only have 96 rooms. So we're kind of taking over the hotel. The ladies of FemAle Brew Fest are taking over the Kimpton Goodland. We're spreading out throughout their open areas. So, and I did a walkthrough yesterday, and I just found out that their rooftop's going to be available for the festival. So now we can use that area. I'm very excited about that.
Excellent. So will there be kind of upstairs and downstairs, or will the entire beer festival be on the rooftop?
No, so the Kimpton has 3 kind of walkthrough areas. So we'll be utilizing those, and then we'll also have the rooftop to kind of spread onto. So I'll have some vendors up at the rooftop as well.
Excellent. And so before we talk about the breweries that are coming, obviously, let's talk about all the other things that are coming. So you have vendors. Are there going to be sessions as well? Talk a little bit about those.
So this year, last year, I tried to incorporate workshops. I'm able to incorporate those again this year. So I actually have 5 different experiences for attendees to choose from this year. I believe I had 4 last year. So I will have the yoga and beer. I will have the beer all-flavor course. And the fermentation diversity is also coming back. New this year is I'm partnering with Yakima Chief Hops, and they will be doing a hop sensory analysis. So attendees will be able to kind of join in a hop analysis and hop rub during the festival. And I'm also bringing in Tara Nurin, who is an author and Forbes content contributor, beer and spirit content contributor. So she's coming out with a book this year, and her publishing company is actually letting her release the book a couple of days early. So people can come to the fest, grab their book early, and get it signed by Tara. So, which is pretty exciting.
That's kind of amazing. Absolutely. And then, of course, the breweries. And for a brewery to even be permitted to come to the FemAle Brew Fest, I guess, what is the requirement that you've set for them?
So the breweries that we feature at the fest are either owned or ran by women or have female brewers and stuff like that. Just kind of like in the production area.
Excellent. And I mean, I guess, what are some of the big names, and are you featuring any breweries from outside the state of Florida, or are you staying mainly within the Sunshine State?
We actually have Sarah Perez coming all the way from Alaska, joining us this year. She's doing some amazing things in the industry, promoting diversity and inclusion, and just really kicking some butt within the industry. So I'm excited to have her this year. Yeah. Some other new breweries coming are Corporate Ladder. I have Green Bench coming this year. So a lot of new and a lot of alums coming back this year for the fest. Yeah.
And I remember one of the things that you had brewed, like ready to go last year, which unfortunately did not happen, where there is at least a couple of different exclusive beers done just for the festival. Obviously, those
Right.
beers are no longer with us, but have any of those people been able to brew some other or are in the process of making something that's just for the beer fest?
Right. Yeah, sure. So I'm actually doing collab brew with Yeasty Brews in a couple of weeks here, and possibly with Orchestrated Minds, which is also another new brewery coming in this year. And a couple of breweries I've mentioned, I'm looking into brewing special beers. Actually, Unbranded Brewing down in Hialeah, they just brewed a beer that's going to be featured at the fest, and they're also new this year.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
I think obviously tickets are still on sale, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. But I think the other thing that I found most interesting, because you are at a boutique hotel, you are also offering a stay and beer fest admission ticket.
Yeah. So that's another thing exciting. A lot of new things is we're offering a beercation this year. We typically have a ton of out-of-towners coming in just for the fest. So this year, since we're partnering with the Kimpton Goodland, we're offering a beercation package for that weekend. So you get a room, you come for the fest, and stay for like the weekend and explore what Greater Fort Lauderdale has to offer as far as the craft beer community. So you get a room and 2 tickets, general admission tickets to the fest with the beercation.
That's kind of amazing. Will you have a VIP ticket available along with general admission, or is it all general admission for the most part?
So for this year, we just have the general admission ticket, and then attendees can upgrade to get the workshop. The workshop tickets and the general admission. Yep. Perfect.
And then obviously date, time, and where people can purchase tickets.
Sure. So the date is September 18th. It's a Saturday. Workshops begin at 1:00, and general admittance is at 2:00.
And then where can people purchase tickets?
Through Eventbrite or our website at femalebrewfest.com.
All right. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it and hope everything goes well.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the support.
And that is it for another great episode of the Florida Beer Podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe to us on your podcasting app of choice. We are also available all year round at floridabeerblog@gmail.com. Remember, our webpages are floridabeerblog.com, floridabeerpodcast.com, and of course the Florida Podcast Network at floridapodcastnetwork.com or FPN Insiders on Facebook. Follow us on social media. Our next episode will be airing in a week. Thank you so much for listening, and drink Florida Craft.